Hello, this video will cover section 2.1, evaluating exponential expressions for the class Math 1324 co-requisite with Math 0305. So we're going to, in 1324, we're going to cover chapters 4 and 5, which are very related to exponential expressions that will lead us to some exponential equations and then functions, and then we're going to analyze those. Then in chapter 5, we're going to be using a lot of formulas that are related to financial situations. And so all of those formulas have exponents as an independent variable. So just to get you prepared for that, we're going to cover some of the most basic ideas of exponents. And so what we have here for example 1 is 5 times 2 to the power 3. So now that it is an exponential expression because we have 3 as being the exponent, as you see here. So what that means is that you're going to have 5 and then multiply by 2 times 2 times 2. And so if we multiply 2 times 2 times 2, we will get 8. So now in this case, only the 2 was being raised to the third power, not the 5. And so 5 times 8 will equal to 40. For the next problem, we're going to use one rule, and we will be covering all of the rules on the next video, on the next section. But right now, I can tell you that if you happen to have a negative exponent, we could make it positive by using this rule. We will take the reciprocal of that, so we will bring the 1 to the top and the 5 to the bottom. But now, since we did that, the exponent will become positive. And just to simplify that a little further, what it means is that you have 1 over 5 times 5 times 5, because it's 5 raised to the third power. And so that will be 1 over 125. For our next expression, we have an exponent that happens to be a fraction. And when that happens, we could consider that fraction the exponent for a root. And in this case, the index of this root will be a 3, which also happens to be the denominator of that exponent. So because of that, 27 will go inside the cubic root. And of course, these two are multiplying each other. Now, what I'm going to do to find the cube root of 27 is I'm going to write 27. I'm going to do the prime factorization for it. So I could divide 27 by 3, and that will give me 9. Divide 9 by 3, I will get 3. Divide by 3 again, and then we will get 1. So now this combination of numbers is a prime factorization of 27. So what we know is that 27 is equivalent to 3 to the power 3. And so in this case, we could, the cubic root and the power 3 are inverse operations of each other. So we say they cancel each other. And now we have 4 multiplied by 3, the number that was still inside the cubic root. So now 4 times 3 will give me 12. Now for the next operations, we do have fractions for each of our exponents. So I'm going to show you 2 ways that we could refer to this expressions. So we could consider the 125 to the power 2/3. We could write it this way. It could be 125 square and then to the power 1/3. Now, just like we can do that, we could also do it this way. 125 raised to the power 1/3 and then square after. So those two actually those 3 expressions have the same meaning. So now if I want to convert that exponent of 1/3 back into a root, it will be the cube root. Remember this little 3, the denominator of the exponent is the index, the one that tells us what kind of root we're going to work with. and that will be the cubic root of 125. But let's not forget that we have this 2 also. Now, 125, if I do the prime factorization of it, I will get that it is 5 to the power 3. And so this is similar to the previous example because we have 5 to the power 3 inside the cube root. So because of that, our answer will be 5 only, but we still have the square here. And so 5 squared is the same as 5 times 5, which is equal to 25. And that will be the answer. Now, our next problem, we have a -5, which is not being raised to any power, so I'm just going to leave it there, multiplying. And then we have 81 with an exponent that is a fraction, so that tells me right away we're going to have some sort of root. And that root will be the 4th root, because the denominator of the exponent is a 4. So when we do that, this will be -5, close parentheses, and we're going to use the prime factorization of 81. So I'm going to do that here on this side. So if we have 81, we could divide 81 by 3 and we will get 27. Remember, we want to use prime factors here. 27 could be divided by 3, we get a 9. 9 could be divided by 3, we get a 3. And then 3 divided by 3, we get 1. Once we get a 1, we know that we are done factoring. So 81 is equivalent to 3 to the power 4. So now we got the same situation here. It will be the 4th root and the power 4 cancel each other. So now we have -5 multiplied by this 3. And so that answer will be -15. For the next problem, we do have a fraction as the exponent, but also that fraction is negative. So we're going to have to do certain things here. So first of all, we're going to leave our 3 here. And since that is an integer, we'll put a denominator of 1 for now. Now, 32 has a negative exponent. So what I want to do is get the reciprocal of it. So it will be 32. And now the exponent will be positive 3/5. On the top, we need to have a number, so that will be a 1. Now from here, we could use that rule that says that we multiply fractions straight across, like that. And so we will be getting 3 on the numerator, and the denominator will have 32 to the power 3/5. So we could do 2 things here. We could say 32 to the 3rd power, and then to the power 1/5. Now, if we were to multiply 32 times 32 times 32, we will get a pretty big number. So in this case, it will be more convenient if we write it this way. 3/32 to the power 1/5, parentheses, and then we will put this exponent, the 3, outside. So in this case, what we will do is take the 5th root of 32, and then after that, we will raise it to the 3rd power. So the prime factorization of 32 tells me that it will be 2 to the power 5. And remember, here we're taking the 5th root because that is the denominator that you see here. So we still need to keep our 3 out here. So that will be 3 divided by, we can cancel that. And this will be 2 to the 3rd power still. The 3 here. And so the answer for this will be 3 divided by 2 to the 3rd power, which is 8. And that is the final answer for that. Now, for example 2, you will be entering this on your calculator. And I don't have calculator on this laptop, so I will just be showing you how to enter it, and you will be finding the answers yourself. So first of all, anytime you have a negative in the front, you want to use that button that has the negative sign inside parentheses. It's typically below number 3. Then you will enter your number 5, and then you might enter the times symbol on your calculator. And then in parentheses, you want to enter 81, close to your parentheses, then use the caret symbol. And then again, as parentheses, you want to enter the exponent 1 divided by 4. You want to keep that exponent as a fraction, so that's why you have to use parentheses. And then, of course, you press enter or equals. For the next problem, you will be entering it this way, 3, and then open parentheses. That would already imply multiplication. And then you will enter 32, close parentheses, exponent, open parentheses. Then you will use the negative sign, not minus, but negative, and then 3 divided by 5, and then you will close parentheses to close your exponent. Now for the next problem, you need to find a key on your calculator that perhaps has the letters LN, which stands for natural log, and we will cover that in the following sections. So once you find that button, see if you can find another one that will say E to the power X. Since that will be in a different color, that implies that you need to use your second function key. And with that, most calculators, once you enter that, they might open the exponent for you, and then or type the exponent and then open parentheses. So then in there you will type in the 0.05 and then close parentheses. So I'm going to move on to the next page. And here, this is pretty easy to enter on a calculator. It would just be 0.832 to the power 67. On the next one, you will enter first the 3,582, and you could just use that key that contains e to the x, and then of course, if needed, use the caret symbol and then enter the exponent 0.5625. For the next one, you will enter 100 parentheses 1.009375, and what you could do here is use the caret symbol, and then for the exponent, you could just enter it as a multiplication 4 times 20. And the calculator will calculate that exponent, which will be 80, and then raise this number to that exponent and then multiply it by 100. So for the last ones, well, these ones are very similar to the examples that we have done already. I just want to point out, for example, for number or letter G, the only part that is being raised to the exponent is E. So make sure that you enter 500 and then you use the e to the power x key, caret, and then in there you will enter 0.011 times 10. So with this one, only the 0.672 is being raised to the 12th power. For this next one, it will be 10, then you would use minus, and then 8. You could use the key that contains e to the power x, and then of course caret 7 for the exponent. Now when we enter fractions, well, before we get to that, this will be 25 minus 11. You will enter e, caret, and then you want to use that little negative, the one that is below number 3. We want to do that anytime you have a negative in the front. If it's in the middle, we will use minus. Now for this following one, I will strongly recommend that you enclose your denominator in parentheses. when you enter this on the calculator. So this will be 1 plus, then E exponent. You have to use the little negative, and then 0.025. Then you have to close the parentheses, so you tell the calculator that you're done entering the denominator. So this last one that I have here, it will be, of course, you enter your numerator like this, and then divide it by, and then for your denominator, 1 plus 0.016 E, caret symbol, and then 0.314, and then we close parentheses. And that concludes this video. So make sure you do practice how to do that on the calculator, since your right here I'm missing a parentheses, since your chapter 4 and 5 is going to be full of expressions like this one. So you want to get used to it now so that you don't struggle later. Thank you for watching.